Underneath the roar of a city bridge, where the streetlights barely reach, a man spent his months just trying to survive the night. On one brutal winter evening, a scrawny stray puppy wandered onto his small patch of concrete, shaking and looking for any source of heat. He didn't shoo the animal away. Instead, he took the meager scrap of food he had managed to scavenge that day, tore it in half, and offered it to the pup. In a place where no one else was coming to help, that shared meal created a quiet pact. By letting the dog press into his side for warmth, they both found a way to endure the cold. This hadn't always been his life. Years earlier, his wife had fallen ill. The medical bills slowly drained every dollar of their savings, but despite the sacrifice, he couldn't save her. Shortly after she passed, his factory shut down. Without an income or a safety net, his grip on a normal life slipped away, ending with an eviction notice and a walk into the streets. Time passed. The shivering puppy grew into a loyal adult dog, following him through the alleys every morning and returning to the bridge every night. To the rushing commuters, the pair became part of the landscape. Pedestrians would step around the two of them without breaking stride, moving as if the man and his dog were simply obstacles on the sidewalk. As the city moved past him, the man's world narrowed down to a few square feet of pavement. His only remaining purpose was ensuring the animal next to him had enough to eat. On another freezing night near the edge of the road, the man fell asleep early, tucked into his usual spot with the dog resting securely against his side. Suddenly, the dog's ears pinned back. From a distance, the screeching echo of a heavy vehicle tearing down the street pierced the quiet. Before the man could even open his eyes, the dog reacted. He clamped his jaws onto the man's sleeve and dragged him backward, pulling him away from the curb just as a car swerved toward them. An intoxicated driver lost control, jumped the curb, and impacted the exact patch of pavement where the man had been sleeping seconds before. The man tumbled away unharmed, but as the car came to a halt, he heard a sharp yelp. The vehicle had clipped the dog, leaving him bleeding on the asphalt. The creature that most people walked past without a glance had just risked its own life to keep the man out of the path of that car. The man rushed over. The dog was alive, but his leg was badly injured. With no money and no phone to call for help, the man was completely on his own. He gathered up his old blanket, carefully wrapped the dog inside it, and began to walk. He carried the animal for miles through the dead of night, navigating the freezing city blocks on foot. He finally reached a 24-hour veterinary clinic. Exhausted, he stood in the doorway and asked the staff to save the dog, admitting he had no way to pay for the care. The doctors took the dog in. Left outside, the man spent the rest of the night sitting on the cold sidewalk, completely exposed to the wind because his only blanket was inside, keeping the dog warm. At dawn, a local journalist passing by noticed the man huddling outside the clinic doors and stopped to ask why he was sitting in the snow without a coat. While they spoke, the veterinarian walked out with news. They had successfully operated on the dog's leg, and he was going to recover. Hearing this, the man finally let out the breath he'd been holding. The journalist shared the story online, detailing how a man with no resources of his own had carried a stray dog for miles and then sat in the freezing cold to ensure its safety. As the post circulated, the man ceased to be a fixture of the pavement to be avoided. Seeing him shivering outside that clinic, people who might have walked past him for months finally saw the person behind the circumstance. The local community began to offer tangible support. Donations arrived to cover the medical bills, people brought food, and a nearby business owner reached out with an offer of employment. A few weeks later, the dog had recovered. He still walks with a slight limp, but now he does so inside a modest, warm apartment rather than sleeping under a concrete bridge. Their relationship has shifted from a struggle for survival to a life of quiet stability. They no longer spend their nights worrying about the next meal or the next storm. Their bond provided a lifeline when they were both overlooked by the world. By looking after a creature that had nothing to give but loyalty, the man was eventually found by a community that had forgotten he was there, showing that sometimes a single act of devotion is what it takes to bring someone back into the light.